You're watching Education for Health Professional Regulators of Ontario, colleges under the Regulated Health Professions Act. Richard Steinica is a senior partner of Steinica Mikura LeBlanc, and he practices exclusively in the area of professional regulation. Richard is a noted author of the Complete Guide to the Regulated Health Professions Act, which, because of its comprehensive nature, has been cited by courts and tribunals, even in cases dealing with non-health professions. Marshall Molesky is the past president of the Federation of Health Regulatory Colleges of Ontario, and he serves as Chief Executive Officer and Registrar of the Ontario College of Pharmacists. Join Marshall and Richard now as Marshall poses a number of important questions on behalf of those of us who want to know more about regulating healthcare practitioners in Ontario.
One of the important activities of council and committee members is participating in meetings and hearings. What is the main goal of a meeting or a hearing?
Well, Marshall, I would say the overarching goal of a committee is to successfully achieve its mandate. This means making wise, fair, and efficient statutory decisions, and that particularly applies to the 6 or 7 statutory committees that make decisions. And there are various means to achieving those goals, having policies and processes in place, being diligent in how you address the issues, and having a full discussion and managing any difficult issues or people.
What are some of the characteristics of an effective council or committee?
Well, first of all, you have to have members who are well trained and have undergone a thorough committee orientation. They have to understand their mandate. For the year, the committee should have a work plan to address all of the things that need to be accomplished, all the tasks, and then work diligently and collegially to achieve those goals. And in making decisions, committees need to maximize all of the expertise they have available to them. Every member of the committee should be participating. People who have different opinions, those opinions should be used constructively to canvass all the aspects of the issue under discussion, and staff should be used effectively to make sure that their expertise is available. Then committees also need to balance process and results. You need to ensure that there's enough time for everyone to contribute and to discuss, and there's enough information, but at some point they actually have to make a decision and achieve a result.
Richard, could you expand upon what you said before about recognizing and dealing with any appearance of bias, particularly at the committee level?
Well, at the committee level, bias usually takes one of 4 forms. There's prejudgment, making up your mind ahead of time, or being involved in the case ahead of time. Another form is to have a connection with a participant in the process, either as a friend or an enemy. Another is to have your behavior be intemperate or partial, and that particularly can occur when you have a hearing committee. And then you don't want any kind of monetary financial interest, such as someone that is a competitor. So to take a scenario, a panel member on an ICRC case realizes after reading the file that the complainant was a former patient or client. The contact was 7 years ago, involving 5 visits. The panel member recalls that the patient and client was somewhat demanding, but with a little extra time and explanation, everything was fine. The panel member calls the staff support person and agrees to withdraw from the panel. The other panel members are not told of the panel member's experiences. In that way, the issue was identified, it was discussed, it was addressed without tainting the rest of the panel, so that they weren't influenced by the perception of this panel member of this particular complainant.
Do you have any tips for chairs of council or a committee on how to be effective?
Yes, there's things to do before, during, and after each meeting to be effective. Before a meeting, the panel chair would confirm that location and setup have been finalized. If there's any reports that need to be reviewed by the committee, the chair has those submitted on time. Make sure that the agenda and the package have been finalized and sent out in good time. That includes everything that needs to be there. Ensures that the staff person is prepared to take the minutes. And then if any issues come up, such as a lack of quorum or a conflict of interest or an adjournment request, problem solves those situations. Then at the meeting, a good chair will call the meeting to order on time, and if there's a delay, explain why there's a delay, introduce any guests or new members of the committee, obtains approval for the agenda and the rough timelines for the meeting, and perhaps calls for any declarations of any conflict of interest or appearance of bias. Then when you're dealing with a particular topic, the chair will have the topic introduced, encourage everyone to participate with no one overbearing on the issue. It would maximize the appropriate use of expertise, including staff expertise, would manage the flow and pace of discussion in the time left for that topic, and if there is an irrelevant or disruptive activity, to address that and get people back on track. A useful technique is to periodically, especially for a longer item, to summarize where you are, saying, I think what I'm hearing so far in discussion is X, Y, and Z. And how, do people agree that's where we are? And then when time has come to make a decision, ensure that the decision is made clearly and then identifies who's going to implement each aspect of the decision. After the meeting, the chair will then ensure that the minutes are drafted and reviewed, would circulate any draft decisions that the committee might have, would prepare any reports that are required, for example, to council, would ensure the action items are being done, and perhaps would debrief with staff or other members of the committee to ensure that the committee meetings can be as efficient and useful as possible in the future.
Thank you.